Good day, guys. How are we all doing? I hope we are all good. So we're just going to do a little back test of gold for the previous week as per request. And we're just going to figure out where we would have found the best setups or the best entries based on the bias which we had on the daily time frame. So looking at gold, we've been bullish for quite some time. If you check, we've been bullish probably. Let's see the lowest low from this chart I'm looking at, or rather the lowest low probably from like December times 18 December. You can see we've just been bullish up until Thursday. So let me just play price here. Okay, so this was Friday the 10th, I think Friday the 7th, sorry, Friday the 7th of Feb 2025. So our price action reading is going to start from Monday. Right. Then we're just going to continue with the week and see how we could have traded it. So looking at price action here, I would have been looking at it two ways. Looking at the moving average and the distance between the current price and EMA, I would have been open to seeing a possible retracement. I would also have been open to seeing a continuation up just based on how probably the H1 would have started to paint price. Because at this point, you can see the week is starting while we're a bit far from the 13 EMA. So two things can happen. Either price will actually push up or price will push down, for example, like what happened here or something like this. But overall, the trend was bullish. So I would have been leaning a little bit more into the buys. So with that in our minds, let's see what the H1 had. So if my daily time frame is not clear in terms of bias, my best time frame is usually the H1. So what do I look for when I'm on H1? When I come to the 1 hour time frame, I'm looking for, okay, the first thing we're just going to mark Friday's high and Friday's low so that we can have like a bit of a clue of the points of interest which we need to focus on. Right, so we're going to mark Friday's high and we are going to mark Friday's low. So now we've got 2 points of interest. Price closes like within the range of Friday, of course. So we want to see where they are going to open on a Monday. And depending with where they open, sometimes we open with gaps and stuff like that. So let's say they just open here. We want to see whether they're going to start coming down for a potential push. That's the first possible scenario if we're going to come down. We also want to see if they're going to come down, but take out liquidity here, then come back into this range, of which if they do this, most of the times or 80% of the times price will actually start trading back towards the high of the previous day or the high of Friday. Then we are also looking at the top side, which is this Friday high, to see if price will open here and actually come to the top, take out liquidity and then come back down, or hit the top and actually retest and continue pushing up, lining up with the bullish bias which we still had. So with those points in mind, let's play price. So remember, if we're going to buy, okay, I'll just do a little bit of a narration as price is moving. So if there's a setup in London, I'm going to pinpoint it. If there's a setup in New York, I'm going to pinpoint it. Although I prefer the New York sessions because that's the sessions I trade, but I'll just try to highlight any setup we just see. So price opens, this is Asian session. Price just starts by being bullish and we are approaching London session. Okay, let's stop here. So at this point, we get this push up. Price takes out liquidity on Friday's high. So at this point now, two things can happen. We are a bit far away from the 13 EMA for us to actually do anything. So we still want to wait and see whether this is an actual break where there is more momentum and maybe a retest, where it's actually, like I explained, just a liquidity sweep and price still wants to come down. So let's see what happens as the time progresses. Okay, break and retest. London session opens. So let's wait here. So depending with whether you're on charts or not, while we're here, okay, let me just, I've got a family phone call here, which I need to take. Okay, guys, just hold on a bit. Let me just take a quick phone call. I'll be back with you just now. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It was just a family call. I couldn't ignore it. So thank you for holding. So I was mentioning these something we look for on the M15, which is just a variation because sometimes you don't get the entry which you actually want to get. So if on the M15 you get a break, and immediately after that break, you get a familiar candlestick retesting, then you can still take a scalp buy. So let me show you. This is usually visible like on your 15-minute time frame. So on the M15, if we zoom in, you see we got this break right here. Soon after that break, we got this inside bar, which was also a pin bar right on Friday's high. So if you see such a setup, you can still scalp it with a quick 1:3. You just have to wait for the candlestick to close, and you map out your 1:3, then you take your trade. The only thing which I wouldn't recommend is sometimes our main best setups okay right on the 13 EMA. So you are looking for something like this. So if this appears right on the 13 EMA, it becomes a high probability trade. And with this example, you can also see this was the London Open. So this was a pre London Open setup. So sometimes maybe you might have missed it. So since we are bullish and we've broken above Friday's highs, this shows us that price is actually bullish for the day. So what are we waiting for? So let's say we're not going to count this trade because it appears before our trading sessions. So let's click play and see what happens during London and during New York session. Okay, so London opens, and again, our best setups appear on or near the 13 EMA. So London opens, price starts to retrace. New York opens, we get a bullish engulfing and a pin bar right here. So this for me is a major point of interest. So before I go to M15, soon as my H1 closes, so remember you're waiting for your H1 candle to close. Soon as my H1 candle closes and I can see that it's a pin bar, and I have that bullish bias, the only thing I start looking for now is the pattern on M15. What am I looking for on M15? Since we've been pushing up, I'm assuming smaller time frames already have higher highs, higher lows, showing that we are in an uptrend for this particular day. The main thing I'm looking for is price to give me a 13 EMA reaction, either on M15, M5, and M3, which is our entry time frame. So first, I need to see it happen on M15, and I need to locate a familiar candlestick. There's four candlesticks which I look for. I either look for a pin bar, I also look for a doji, I also look for a bullish engulfing, and I also look for an inside bar. Okay, so if you don't know these candles, I'm going to pin a message below. You should go through the candlestick trading Bible. If you've got the book, you can go through it. If you don't have the book and you want to go through videos, I did some videos just going through the book. You can go through the link which I'll post in the description. Then you can just go through the videos. It mainly speaks about candlesticks. So you need to know your candles. If you are a day trader, if you are a scalper, you need to know your candles. So let's jump now to M15. We know what we are looking for. So on M15, after that H1 closed, you come to M15, you see that we have these two equal lows here. We have this nice pin bar here. We have this order block here. And already it shows that we have a market structure shift in here if we are to go to smaller time frames. So H1 is closed. M15, we check price is already broken our order block. So sometimes if you understand price action, you can come to the charts as the H1 candle is forming. But if you're still learning, rather wait for it to close so that you can have like safer entries. But if you are a seasoned trader and you understand how price moves, you can still just enter on the break of this order block with a buy stop, or you can wait. Sometimes price will come and retrace, then you get a buy. Okay, so M15 has given us a pin bar just below the 13 EMA. Perfect. Broken an order block and given us another pin bar here. So the bullish bias is holding strong. Remember, we still haven't entered. This is the heart of New York session. So I come to the 3-minute time frame. This is usually my entry time frame. So again, on the 3-minute time frame, I'm looking for the same thing. I want to see price starts to show higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And for me to actually buy here, or to know that my bullish bias is strong, this initial high for New York has to actually, it has to be broken, right? So H1 is closed, M15 is closed. I'm now on the 3 minutes and I'm looking for an entry. Personally, for me, I would have potentially started entering here because already I was anticipating that bullish move and my pattern was already showing a market structure shift. We do have a fair value gap here. We do have a doji followed by a pin bar. These are all entry criteria which I look for, especially if I've got a strong bias. So let's say I had used this pin bar and mapped out a 1:3 setup. My setup would have been looking something like this, right? So let's say you've missed this setup. You're waiting for another reaction of the 13 EMA. So what are we looking for? We're looking for price to retrace into the 13 and give us a reason to enter. So I'm just going to click play. Pause. We've got a pin bar followed by a bullish engulfing. Right there is where I look for my entry. Soon as that pin bar closes, sometimes I wait for the next bullish candle to close. It just depends with how I'm feeling about price and how it's moving and what it's showing me. So in this example, soon as the pin bar closes, I'm in the trade 1:3. So with my 1:3 risk to reward, if I'm risking 1%, let's say it's a proper count and I'm risking 1%, 3% would be my target. If I'm risking 0.5%, it means 1.5% will be my target. If it's just monetary value and let's say you've got a small account, whether it's in ZAR or dollars, if you are risking $10, it means you're aiming for 30. All right. So with that in mind, risk and reward is planned. My candles have closed. I know where price can potentially come to. I need them to break the initial New York highs to show me that I'm actually in the right direction. So I'm going to click play. Okay, we've got a bit of less volume before price actually broke this level here. So we touched that initial New York high. Soon as we touch it, you see price starts to retrace. So let's see what they want to do. So you also want to pay attention to your M15. How far is price away from the 13 EMA? So a variation would be if price is a little bit too far from the 13 EMA, sometimes price will drag like this or it will come slightly lower, but they'll definitely give you another entry or another reason to enter the buy. So let's see what happens. You can see how price is bouncing off the initial New York high. It's failing to break that level. Almost on stop loss hit on this particular trade. So since stop loss has been hit, let me pause here. Let's go and see how the M15 is looking like. So on the M15, what you notice is price has broken below the 13 EMA. What we want to see is a pin bar and price holding the 13 EMA and actually pushing up. So the first trade on a Monday is a loss, right? So we also check the H1, see what the H1 is showing us, how far it is from the 13 EMA, a bit of a distance. So we come back to the H1. So you sort of hit like a reset. You still want to come back to the H1 and wait for the same 4 candles. Right, click play. Pin bar. We get another pin bar. We go to M15. We are looking for the same thing. Price is to show us, is to give us a close above the 13 EMA for entries. Number one. Number two, we need an impulsive move, right? And price to retrace back into the 13 and to get an entry. But if you already know your bias, like now we know we're still bullish, all I need is a close above the 13 for me to then go to the M3 and start to look for a setup. So let's see what happens. With the play button, play. Pin bar. Okay, let's pause here. So I got the first pin bar right on the 13 EMA. Let's see if on the 3 minutes, I've got something I can use here. So on the 3 minutes, what you'll notice is price again has created a low, taking out liquidity. We're starting to expand to the top side. Market structure shift. With this move, price retraces into an OB, gives you a doji. This is an entry for a seasoned trader. I could also consider that as an entry. If you're scared with this entry, you can use a break of an order block after the higher low has been created. That can also be an entry, but otherwise we're still waiting for price to retrace or retest into the 13 EMA, right? So we do have this pin bar on M3, which you can use as an entry right here. Sometimes you can use the 13 EMA. It just depends with how you're viewing price. But the next green candle after this particular pin bar, if I get a green candle, I'll be getting into this trade. And in my mind, I know I've got this level. So if I'm going to enter this trade, I need my stop loss to be below this level because I still know that price can still come right into this 13 and give me another reason to enter the trade. So I'm just going to click play. Remember, I want to enter on the next convincing bullish candle. Price goes sideways, taps into the 13, inside bar, doji, 13, inside bar, pin bar. All these candles forming, there is no follow through to make me enter. The only thing I'm holding here is a bias. So I'm waiting for my confirmation. There's no volume in the market. So let's zoom in here. So soon as I get this doji, so you see we had these dojis, a pin bar, and this bullish candle following through. Maybe the next thing I want to check is M15. Is my M15 still in line with my bias? So what I'll notice is my M15 still hasn't turned green. There is no bullish candle here. So I'll wait until I get another pin bar right on the 13 EMA or any of those four candles which I mentioned. So let's see. Bearish pin bar. Soon as I get this pin, I'm now interested in this trade. Okay, we come here. My setup is going to look something like this. If you enter on the M15, if you're not a fan of smaller time frames, you can use this particular setup. But if you're like me and you prefer the 3 minute for your entries, if you're on the 3 minute now, what you're waiting for is a close above the 13 EMA. So M15 has given us a pin bar and we've got this close. Sometimes it might not be convincing, but for us to buy, we still need this break, this high to be broken, right? So I can have my buy stop right there. Let's see what happens. Okay, let's pause. Soon as I start to see the expansion coming to my level, that's where I put my buy stop. So now my setup starts to look like this. So you might not have entered this on M15 and you're waiting for the 3 minutes, but now my low has to just come below this last low to my left. And I'm going to aim for a 1:3. Okay, something like this. And we are going to click play. Buy stop active. Right, so let's pause price here. So you can see both or three of these setups played out, but the initial setup was this big setup outside here. We got our confluence. M15 showed us what we're looking for. If you're doubting on M15, just come to the 3 minutes, and as long as your price is trading below the 13 EMA, just wait for more confluences to line up, right? You're waiting for more confluences to line up. Our buy stop got triggered by this and price dragged us back down. So this was our second setup, which is this setup you see here. Stop loss was below this particular low, which you see here. So price almost hit the stop loss. One thing I forgot to mention is if it's after 10 p.m., I don't trade. So this first initial setup would have painted at 21:30. This is GMT plus 2. And 10 p.m. was somewhere here. Because if you enter after 10 p.m., just know you are going to pay swap. Number one. Number two, there is usually less volume as the day is about to close. So price might not hit your TP, which means you actually need to hold your trade into the next day. But what I also want you to notice is after price started pushing, we got this 13 EMA retest with the pin bar. You could have entered again a quick 1:3 just before midnight. You can see it actually played out right within your main setup. There's another setup, right? So you could have taken that and maybe taken profits. But again, obviously, you could have been charged to swap here. Price opened with a gap slightly above, retraced and gave an inside bar, broke the previous day's high and retested with a pin bar. So if you're an Asian trader, you could still have taken that trade. So now we want to come to the daily chart so that we see what's happening. So I'm just going to remove these setups. So we got one win, one loss, one win. So it's 1 and 1. So just so that we just keep track of our trades. So this is a 1:3 played out. So depending with which setup you took, you could have just taken your win either way. So let's check. Okay, I just removed everything. I don't know why I did that, but anyways, let's go to the daily, see how our daily is now expanding. So this video might be a little bit too long, guys. Please do forgive me. So Monday going into Tuesday, we're Okay, which day were we trading here, guys? I think I lost track. I think it was the same day, right? We got that loss and the win on the same day. So on Tuesday, is the previous day's candle closed like this? On Tuesday, what am I looking for? Tuesday, it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way possibility of how price can play out. Still, I'm open to seeing them retrace to the 13 because we're a bit far, and I'm also looking forward to them pushing up. So as long as my daily is not clear, my best time frame is going to be the H1. And when I come to my H1, what am I looking for? Okay, what am I looking for? This is Tuesday. I'm looking to the 13 EMA as my best friend. I'm looking to the 13 EMA reactions. If we stay above, I'm looking for buys. If we come below, I'm looking for sells. And my entry triggers don't change. It's the same candles. So H1, click play. So this is the Asian session. Asian starts up being aggressive, then spikes down. Okay, this candle is a bit too big and it takes my attention. So I'll mark it when London session opens because that's when we normally come to the charts. So now London is about to open. London opens, London opens. So when London opens, we are on the charts now. We look at the charts and we notice there's this one H1 candle just standing out. Because if you're looking at these candles, which candle would you call the odd one out? So my odd one out, or the odd candle standing out, is this candle here. So I'm just going to mark the high, mark the low. These are my points of interest coming into the day. And I've already explained what you look for in these candles. If you don't understand these candles, then you need to join our day trading mastery bootcamp course, or you need to join the mentorship. Then I can explain a little bit further. But if you check on the YouTube vids, on the previous notes we shared, I've explained how we approach such a candlestick. So London session, we are below the 13 EMA. So someone who's trading London session is now looking for a potential sell. But again, if you're selling, this has to be your initial target because now you can see prices coming into that squeeze I always talk about, which can usually hold price before it breaks out either to the top or breaks out either to the bottom. So you should just be careful how you approach price if you see it in between these moving averages or in such a tight squeeze like this. So let's click play. And if you are looking for a sell, you are looking for the 4 candlesticks I've mentioned. You want to see price reject with a pin bar. Just as we see here, you see this pin bar candle, it's broken a zone, and the next candle is a retest. So let's just map the close of this candle. This is for London session traders. Once you mark the close of that candle, you come to M15. On M15, what are you looking for? On M15, what you see is we've got the previous days right here, the previous day's high right here, which is this green line you see. Point of interest. Two things can happen. Price can still come up here and bounce off it and then give a sell. So which means we need to wait for them to come below the 13. Second thing which can happen is we've already broken and retested. Maybe we might get another bounce off the 13 EMA just to give a solid entry. But already here you can start looking for sales because price from yesterday's high is already showing you lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So you can still come to the 3 minute while it's you there. Look for an entry. Same thing, we're looking for a reaction on the 13 EMA for us to sell, and we are open for a retracement a bit higher on the 15-minute time frame. So let's see what price shows us here. Retraces into the 13, pushes slightly higher towards the 50 EMA, retesting that gray zone, close below the 13, comes back up. So what I'm looking for now, I do have a selling bias based on H1. Let me pause. right? What I'm looking for now is an impulsive move. I need to see confirmation that we're still pushing down and a retracement and a retest of the 13 so that I can just quickly enter. Sometimes I come back to the 15 if I see price pushing up like this. I usually come back to the 15 EMA just to see how price is moving. So if I get equal highs like this, you can see we have an imbalance here, which is a point of interest. So let's just see what they want to do around here. So if we've got equal highs in the fair value gap, price might still come poke into this area. And we also have another point of interest here, like I mentioned, which is the previous day's high. So we'll click play, pin bar. Soon as I see a pin bar, okay, the price just spiked before I could explain. Soon as I see a pin bar, I'm back on the 3 minute. Once I come to the 3 minute, you'll notice we also had a doji on the 50. We had an impulsive move right here. Impulsive move right here. Breaking this order block or this structure here, and we had this pin bar here. So right there, I would have entered, just that my price moved a little bit fast, but I would have entered right here, my first sell. But remember, again, you're moving towards moving averages, so maybe you might consider scalping. But anyways, let's map out a 1:3. Let's see how it would have moved. It would have actually gone almost straight to TP. But anyways, let's see if we can still get another entry here. So we are looking forward for price to retest the 13 EMA. Before we get there, we do have this fair value gap here. Let's see how price is going to act. Inside bar, confirmation of another entry right there. So this is an inside bar to this bullish engulfing, and it's coming back to close below this fair value gap here. So sometimes you have to wait for this close to happen. So as soon as that close happens, I'm in this trade. So remember, my H1 is showing me that I'm in a sell bias. So here I'm working with the H1 time frame and not necessarily the daily in terms of bias. So I map another 1:3. I jump into the trade. You can see how price is sort of respecting this 800 EMA here. That's why sometimes if you're trading towards the EMAs, you want to take your profits right on the 13 EMAs. Another doji here followed by a bearish engulfing. That's another entry for me. If I had missed all these other entries, I could have still considered this. Stop loss above that bearish engulfing. So let me stop price, stop price. I could have, so here there were like 3 points of interest which we could have considered for a sell. As you can see, price proceeded to actually play out, and the bias daily was not clear. But if daily is not clear, your next best time frame, based on my trading system and my understanding of price, the next time frame I use for my bias is the H1. Because I'm a day trader, I can switch from scalping to holding within the session. So my H1 bias also helps if the daily is not clear. So here you had the first option to enter at this pin bar here. Right as it closed, because it closed above here, you can still have entered right here or wherever you saw fit. If you missed that, here's an inside bar. You could have still have entered here with your stop loss above. You can see that setup also played out here. Or if you had missed those two, here's a nice doji right on the 13 EMA as well, followed by a bearish engulfing. So you might not enter here, but right as the bearish engulfing closes, you enter, stop loss above. Even on these pin bars, you can still enter as well. Same thing, because you do have your bias, right? So I could have entered here, and you can see this trade played out from around 2,900 area to around 20. 889 somewhere there. So it was a good setup, and this was what this was London session, almost going into New York, because New York starts around about here. So if you're a London session trader, it's okay to miss all this action here, all this action here. But when something which lines up with your system shows, then you have to be in that trade. So we had a win in the morning. So now we've got what? One loss, 2 wins. I'm just going to consider this one win because it's just one session. So if you're coming to the charts in the afternoon now, so let me delete this. You're coming to the charts in the afternoon. Let's say you're a New York trader or maybe you're at work or something. What are you looking for? So when you come to the charts, you see, okay, shit, my daily has expanded. We've broken outside that squeezy area, which I always tell you to be cautious about. The TDI has broken below the 50 and outside of the bands, which shows us we are in a bearish bias. But in this bearish bias, where is this price potentially going to turn? Look to our left. We've got this high and this high here. So we do have like a point of interest there, which might act as a support. And at this point, the daily candle was bearish. So sometimes you just want to check how price is moving along on the daily just to see how you can map out. So daily had this particular price action and it had left this week. So again, bias is bearish, but price is almost near a support zone. So we don't really want to jump into this trade blindly because the main trend is going up. So let's see what happens here. So if price returns to the 13 EMA and gives us a candlestick, we understand we can still take a sell. So click play. So we hit default, we come back to the H1 so that we can get a bias for the session. Price bounces off the 50, bounces off the 13, pin bar, stays on the 50. Let's see if we're going to come above or stay below, right? We get that doji. Soon as we get this doji, you see it's appearing on a point of interest on the 13 on this broken zone. But what else do you see? You see this 50, you see this 13. This zone is a bit of a dangerous zone to trade in, especially if a daily time frame bias is unclear. So at this point, we want to wait until price comes out of that range. So we're going to click play. Bearish engulfing. Okay, let's pause. I think we're approaching. This is midnight already. Yeah, this is midnight. So New York session traders, there was nothing for you here. This 13 EMA and this 50 EMA should guide you to know that this area is a danger zone if you want to trade. Yes, you want to take a buy. Yes, you want to take a sell. But what's the guarantee that it's going to break the moving averages? So remember your 50 EMA, it's a dynamic support. Your 13 EMA is a dynamic resistance. So price can just bounce within that area. So that's one thing you should just take note of. So coming into the next day now, let's see, we're still paying attention to the H1 and seeing how price wants to play so that we can get a bias. So price pushes, I'm just going to start explaining when we get to London session. So let me pause here. We've got this level in this week on the H1. So I just want to mark this area as a point of interest. What will happen if my price comes below half of this week and stays below? I'm going to look for sales. If they tap here and stay above, I might start looking for buys. But again, I still need to come back above the 13 EMA for me to start considering entering a buy. So play. We are approaching our London session open. London session opens. We're still below. As much as we want to look for a sell, we do have this support zone here. We also have this point of interest here. So for us to sell, we still have to show an impulsive move below, get a retracement back into the 13 EMA, then consider sells. Until that happens, we are not taking that sell because we're still not sure where the price wants to go. So we wait. I'm not sure if this was a news event, so let's stop here. I'm not sure if this was a news event or on this particular day. Could have been, was it core CPI? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You guys have to just backtest on your charts and check. Remember what we said. We have a support zone here. We are not sure whether price wants to push up. You can see how we hit the zone and we push up and we wick below with a news event, whatever news event it was, and we still came back above. Price now comes and closes above all our points of interest. This zone, 13 EMA, 50 EMA, breaks above the pre-London high. So now the bias is about to change. We are most likely going to look for a buy. But for us to buy, prices to remain above the 13, they have to retrace, give us a pin bar, or as soon as we start to see a wick on the H1, we can start to consider a buy. So again, you have to be flexible to trade both directions. Don't just be married to a direction and say we're selling, because sometimes price is going to humble you. So as soon as this candlestick closes, I consider this an impulsive push on M15. So M15 will be looking something like this. So I'll be looking for this particular retracement into the 13 for me to buy. But if you understand price, you can still be able to see it as it appears on H1, but I'll show you just now. So let's click play. Let's see what they do. Pin bar. Soon as that pin bar closes, my trigger finger starts to itch. This is where I start to look for a buy. I see I've got a zone respected. Next time frame, M15. So you can see I'm waiting for the candlesticks to close before I even get interested to get into this trade. So, okay, let me just pause a bit. There's a bit of a noise. Right, sorry about that. All right, so M15, you remember what I said we are looking for. You are looking, price was creating lower lows, lower highs. We had a nice week here, probably a news event. We've broken an order block initially here, retested the 13 EMA here. What's going to show us that this price is continuing with a buy is going to be, okay, excellent. Okay, what's going to show us that price is going to continue with the push up is going to be a break of this level. So you can have a buy stop on that area because already now the bias is starting to be strong. And the next thing you're going to see is price reacted off yesterday's low, right? Came back above impulsive move. We also have, yeah, I hope this sound is not affecting my video. You guys just have to be able. We do have a fair value gap here. Prices bounced off. So already we've got a bullish bias, right? Okay, let me pause, guys. Right, let's continue. So everything here for me is lining up towards a buy. It's New York session. It's our trading time. Right, so my candles are showing me that potential of buy is high, or the potential of a buy is high. We come to the 3 minutes. We notice we already have a pin bar here. So two things can happen. You can decide to enter here, or you can just wait for price to break and give you another reason to enter a buy. So let's wait and for the safe entry. So we wait. Waiting. Price goes sideways. So sometimes if M3 is not clear like this, it's simple. Just go back to a higher time frame. Higher time frame, okay, we are a little bit far from the 13 EMA. So let's wait for price to retrace to the 13 EMA. So as this is happening, remember it's happening in real time. So you're waiting for price to actually show you that it actually wants to push up. So let me pause here. You can consider a buy stop here, or you can wait for price to come back again and interact with the 13 EMA right there. Click play. The first impulsive move pushing out of that area is this huge bearish engulfing candle. So two things again can happen. You can go to the 3 minutes and wait for price to retrace, or you can just decide to enter at this close. If you enter at that close, sometimes the better setup or the better stop loss is below this level, because we still have a point of interest here. So on M15, the setup is going to look like this. And we are targeting price to get back to yesterday's high, right? Yesterday's high is our target. Drag it into the future. We already know our bias from H1, M15. So we can as well as go to M3. So let's say you have entered a buy here, or you're waiting for price maybe to give you something else. You can still, let's just zoom in here. You see that pin bar here, that could also have been an entry. The only advantage of the 3 minute is it will give you a better risk to reward. Like the risk you have there in terms of price movement range is smaller compared to M15. So on M15, you can see from here to here, that's the amount of pips you have to hold. Unlike M3, maybe where you might have entered here and your risk was here and the amount of pips would have been less. But again, let's wait for this high to be broken, and let's wait for the next best entry to actually enter on a 3 minute time frame. So price starts to push. Let's see if we're going to get a break. We break. Sometimes you can enter with a buy stop if you want. Price starts to expand. Remember, we're waiting for any familiar candlestick or the 13 EMA for another entry. 7 p.m. Also keep track of your time. Like, what time is it? Pin bar. Soon as I get this pin bar, I'm interested in this trade. Sometimes if I'm doubting price, I just enter with a buy stop and my stop loss comes below that pin bar, and I'm going to have a 1:3. So if you guys are keeping track of the trades, I think we've won one, we've lost one and won two so far. This setup, I'll just count it as one, just for argument's sake. So we're waiting for a buy stop. We already got a doji. We're waiting with a buy stop. If you had entered below on the M15, your trade is already in motion with this bigger setup you see. So price goes sideways a little bit. And usually if your price is going sideways, let me pause while we're there. You want to check how far it is from the 13 EMA. Because if it's a bit far and you decide to enter here, price will take you out but still move in your direction. So that's why I always advise the first thing is you want to enter with a buy stop. That's number one. Number two, you always want to keep referring to your 15-minute so that you see what candlesticks are forming, where is price in relation with the 13 EMA. We have a broken zone, so price can still come retest that area. So if you're on the 3 minutes and you're waiting with a buy stop, since we are a bit far, from the 13 EMA on H1, you can see our buy stop was not triggered. So if it gets violated here before getting triggered, you remove it and you wait for the next best entry. So you can see it's a lot of things, guys, which come into these setups. So once it gets violated like this, you want to just remove it. Then once you remove it, you come back to the 15 minute. On the 15 minutes, you're waiting for the same candles. There's a lot of things involved in this setups. That's why we always say, if you still don't understand price, it's best if you join the mentorship so that as price moves, because we normally have live new trading sessions. So as price is moving like this, if we are hosting a live trading session, we will be explaining the setup as it moves. So price comes back to the entry on this particular setup on M15. Let's see what they do. Bounce off the 50, doji. I'll be interested in the first close above the 13 EMA like this. Once I see the first close, I'm back in. But again, timing. It's now 21:45. It's now 10 p.m. Just know if you enter your trade at this time, you're going to pay swap. Because most of the times, price will actually there will be less volume sometimes, and the setup will fall into the next trading day. So the first close above the 13 EMA is usually my entry, and I enter with a setup like this. So now my stop loss is now here. My 1:3 trade is now like this. If you decide to enter on the 3-minute time frame, you don't have to stress. It's the same thing. You're waiting for the same candlestick pattern. You're waiting for a close above the 13 and a pin bar. So let's zoom in here. Let's click play. Let's see if we can get an entry on the 3-minute. You can see there's no volume in the market at this time. This is 10:42. 3-minute, I might consider this sideways push, maybe an entry here since I already have a bias. There's a pin bar here. As soon as I see that pin bar, again, I might wait for a breakout with my stop loss below this range and my 1:3 trade here. I'm not looking for trades at this time. I'm just showing you guys how price moves, because after 10 p.m., I do not trade. This is what, 11 going into midnight. So let's just see what happens. Price starts to push as we are approaching midnight. Less volume. So such trades, you might have to enter and just go to sleep, set your take profits, set your stop loss, and go to bed. You'll see them on the next day. Okay, this session is actually a bit longer than the first one we had, but again, for the information I'm sharing with you guys, I think it's worth it to actually watch until the end. So you can see we are now into the next day. There's literally no volume in the market. The candles are tiny, and that can get frustrating. So that's why I wouldn't advise you to take your trades after 10 p.m. So on this setup here, price is coming back to your entry. Same applies to the bigger setup as well. So let's see. This is the previous day's high. This line you see here. So that's also a point of interest. If price gets there, you can also collapse your trade at that point. Finally, some volume starts to show in the markets. So you can see this setup had not hit stop loss. It's still running and approaching TP. Depending with where you enter, you can see that first, this little setup within our main setup has hit the TP here. So let me just take it off. Or rather, let me just leave it. Let's see how price is going to play. So we're just going to go to the M15. Let's see how the candles are forming here. This is Asian. So I don't really narrate price when it's on Asian because I do not trade Asian session. But what do you see here? Don't you see a pin bar here where you could actually have entered if you are trading Asian session and aimed for these highs? You could have still have taken your pips there. So this is what we're approaching Thursday now. Okay, we have this setup still running. We have this setup still running. Price starts to show volume. This is 5 a.m. in the morning, GMT +2. So most of us will still be sleeping, depending with which side of the equator you're on or your time zone. TP is finally hit on this particular setup here. TP is finally hit, which is perfect. So let me remove this, remove this. So in terms of pips, if I'm trading gold and I catch 50 to 100 points, guys, I call that a successful trade. I don't really swing because I'm a day trader. So here you can see from this entry up until, so it's 28.97 to 29.07. That would have been 100 points already, I think. If I'm trading gold and I catch this, I already call it a success. I don't hold a bigger setup like this, as you see, because here it's Thursday already, and I'll actually be looking for another setup entry for that particular day. So maybe let me pause. Let's go to the H1. So I'm already calling Wednesday a success because we already had a winner. So we got one loss. We got what, two wins, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or three wins. You guys just have to keep track if you're watching from the beginning. I go to H1. The reason I'm not going to the daily is because the daily will show me the full daily candle and it will like not be fair if we are explaining price action. If I just look at what happened, then explain. So let's just go candle for candle so that I can explain a little bit better. So let's say this setup is still in play. It's fine. We're aiming for this high, which was created on Tuesday. Still perfect. Setup is running. H1 has retested the 13 EMA, and I'm now looking for a possible buy. And we've also bounced off the previous day's high. So this is a flip zone trade. So if we get a flip zone trade, same thing. I'm looking for the same thing, but I'd rather see an impulsive push than a retracement, then a buy if price rejects on the 13 EMA. So let's see if we're going to get an impulsive move here. This is London session on Thursday. Price actually has to break this high here to show that it actually wants to push up. Pin bar, you can see we got a pin bar here. That's where we start considering an entry. If you're trading London session, again, as soon as you see that pin bar, that's a sign for you to enter. You can go to a smaller time frame, yes, still fine. This maybe might have taken you out, as you can see, coming into New York session. So let's just leave it there and see how price is playing here. And usually if price takes me off my bearings like this, I just do one thing. I come back to the H1, see what the H1 is doing. So if I see that H1 is bearish like this, we are below the 13, it shows that my entry here was wrong and I consider that loss. I take it gracefully. All right, so I'll actually count this as a loss. So we've got two losses now. You guys can count the wins. I'll count the losses. All right, let's click play. So we're back to the H1 to see what this price wants to do in terms of daily bias. So now I think we're approaching New York. Yeah, this is New York session, inside bar, stop the price, come back. So you can see what took us out was just a stop hunt. Come back to M15. M15, what do I have? I have an impulsive move and I have an inside bar. So I'm just going to change this setup into here. I can take a breakout. I can take a buy on the inside bar close. It just depends with how you understand your price. So let's just say we're taking it on the breakout, and our stop loss, we're going to put it below the inside bar, drag price into the future. if you want a 3-minute entry, soon as that inside bar closes, you're waiting for 3 minutes to give you an entry. So on the 3 minutes, you will see we had price showing higher highs, inside bar. You can wait for the break of this level as well. Almost still the same thing, and you can enter your trade. So we are in this trade again on a 1:3 ratio. Second trade of the day, New York session. Click play. Pin bar price is going sideways. Again, no volume. I wonder what was happening on Thursday. I don't quite recall. Okay, let me pause, go back to M15. Each time I see my price doing what I don't like, I just go to a higher time frame and I check what's going on there. Because you don't want to rely on a smaller time frame. A smaller time frame is just for entries. So we do have this point of interest. If you are going to buy, you want to see price break. So play. Another stop loss hit. After two stops, if I hit two stops in one day, I'll be done for that day. I won't continue trading. So here, let's see what price eventually does. Again, they start pushing up. So maybe we're still waiting with a buy stop on this level here. But this is for those who would have not traded. Buy stop gets triggered. If your buy stop gets triggered here, remember we got this pin bar here. So let me pause. I hope this is not confusing for you guys. Any pin bar on the 13 EMA. So here we had this push up. We were too quick to enter after we got this inside bar. There's nothing wrong with that. My stop loss is below the pin bar. Price decides to take me out. That's perfect. I'll take the loss gracefully. Then the 15 minutes shows me another pin bar again. I'm back in that trade. That's if I haven't traded already or if I haven't taken two losses. Then, but if you haven't traded, this is another chance to enter. This is 2030. 1:3 setup. And the price would have just started to move, as you can see. Also, you could have still used the 3 minute for your entry. Because of time, I'm not going to go to the 3 minute on this particular price action. Or maybe while it's moving, let me just go towards it so that you guys can see if we had any entry there. Right. Price respecting the 200 moving average. Nice inside bar here. We have traded the breakout on the 3 minutes. So still perfect. You could still have entered a trade there. So M15, as it is pushing, you're just watching your price, 3 minutes. You just have to check between the 3 minutes M15, 3 minute M15. If 3 minute gets a bit hazy and it's not clear, then you don't trade. Here's another pin bar here, but it's 22.45, so I'm not going to consider an entry there. Midnight, you pay your swap. So again, sometimes on certain weeks, setups will form late, which means it's after New York lunchtime. Just know, be prepared to pay swap on those trades. Be prepared to pay swap. And I also want you to remember that we do have a setup which is still running from here. So that's not me. That's not my trading strategy. Like I said, I do not enter to swing like this to hold for 2-3 days. That's not me. My setups are within the session. So if I can catch 50 to 100 points on gold, no matter how the risk to reward is looking like, I call that a success and I call it a day. By the time we reach swap time, I'll be out of that trade. By the time we get to Friday, I'm already looking for another setup for that particular day. So let's see what happens here. Let's just go to our default time frame in terms of bias. We get a nice, let me pause here. We get a nice bullish engulfing sort of inside bar right on the 13. So if you're trading pre-London open, that can be an entry point, and your stop loss, sorry, and your take profit here must not be 1:3. It must be this high here on Tuesday. So let's see how price acted around the high. Did they get there or did they not? And one thing which I also forgot to mention on this setup, guys who have been following my sessions or my lessons always know, okay, let's pause here. Guys who have been following my sessions always know if my setup moves halfway towards my target, my stop loss is already on break even. If you're in the trading community, you already know. So by the time we are here, the stop loss is already here. So this, we don't even consider it a loss because we would rather consider it a break even than a loss. Soon as we move halfway to target, we take something out, we move stop loss to break even. This applies for all the setups we trade. No matter how good the setups looks, always move stop loss to break even if your trade moves halfway towards the target. So this was Friday closing off the week. Let me just take these off because they're now blinding me. Just mark this high since we've got a week here. That's my point of interest. If I'm going to continue with buys, I want to see price come above this half movement of that week and continue pushing up. If you need more explanation on these things, you guys, you need to join the mentorship community or at least get the course because everything is explained in greater detail. Here, I'm just summarizing all the information just into one. So if we are to stay below, prices to stay below this area. So H1, again, we're going to use it for our buyers. Rounding up, if we're going to sell, we need to stay below the 13 EMA. Okay, let me pause. The price just moved. I was going to say, considering that my price is below the 13 and I got this aggressive push. Remember, this is Friday, is the end of the week. So I anticipate a midweek reversal or I'm open to seeing price giving me a reversal. So as soon as price gives me select bar, let's come back here. Soon as price gives me a pin bar on the 13 EMA and the pin bar is opposite where I'm actually going, that's where I start considering a sell. So if we click play here, okay, first H1 closes below, that's bias. We have a bias of selling. Why? Because we've respected this level, we've broken a structure, but we've hit a dynamic support. So until you break here, you cannot sell. So let's see what the next candle is. I think the next candle was the pin bar. Soon as that pin bar closes, I want to mark where it closed. I want to go to M15. I want to look for a pattern. You already know the pattern, guys. Impulsive move, retracement into the 13, impulsive move, retracement into the 13, impulsive move if I'm selling. And you would be aiming for the previous day's low in this particular example. Once I get this particular inside bar, I can either enter here or I can simply jump to the 3 minutes. What am I looking for on the 3 minutes since all my time frames have confirmed? What I'm looking for is a bearish engulfing, a pin bar, a doji, or an inside bar. So here I get this particular candlestick. You might use it, but if it's not clear, that's fine. So we have a sell bias now. With the sell bias, we're already in New York session. Price pushes. Let's say you're not in the trade. We're waiting for an entry. We're waiting for an interaction with a 13 EMA, which it looks like we're about to get. We get, let's pause, we get a bearish engulfing here. As soon as I get this bearish engulfing, which closes here, my stop loss is above. My take profit can come all the way to yesterday's low, or it can just be 1:3. Then I click play. If I get another chance to enter, it has to be a 13 EMA retest with a familiar candlestick. It has to be a 13 EMA retest with a familiar candlestick. This is TP. Day trade. Okay, I've got a lesson with someone just now, so I might have to end this. So this price basically melted. I don't think they gave another entry here. Let's see. So we got our buyers from the H1. They retraced, gave a pin bar. M15, we got the inside bar. M3, pin bar, bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing. Those are all entries. This is another entry right here. What time was it? I'm not sure what time it was though, but that qualifies for me. Bearish engulfing, pin bar followed by bearish engulfing. Definitely an entry for me. 1:3. You might have been conscious also of price being on yesterday's low. There's nothing wrong with being conscious about that. So you might wait for a break. Here's more pin bars here. So you could still have entered there as well. Then price just continues to steadily drop. So always know by the time I get to halfway to my target, my stop loss is already here and I've already scaled out something here. So whatever happens after, just know I've secured something from that trade. As long as my trade plays in my direction halfway, I take out something, move my stop loss to break even, protect my capital. And yeah, that's it. So this setup, maybe there was a little much to explain here, but I'll try to make these setups frequent if you guys want them. So please comment on the comment section there if you need more of these videos, more of these recaps. You can even join in these sessions because I do them. We are going to be doing them actually every weekend because we'll have time to back test. So if you want to join any of these sessions, just let me know and I'll give you the Zoom link. If you want to see more of these also, just put it in the comments there. If there's something else you trade which is not what I trade and you just want me to show you how I would trade it using my trading system and back test it for you like this, just let me know in the comment section. Just comment and I'll definitely back test for you guys. So if you've watched from the beginning up until the end, I lost track of how many trades we won and how many trades we lost. But in terms of risk to reward, I'm sure this was also a net positive week. I would also want to know, how do you trade gold? Because I believe we all have different trading strategies. So I would love to know, how did you trade your gold in the past week? Which setups did you take? Which trading session did you take? Are you a swing trader? Are you a scalper? What type of trader are you? Please just let me know in the comment section. So a 1, 2, 3 trade might have hit TP right there. Yeah, we might have hit TP right there. And yeah, this was it for the trading week on gold. Back testing using our day trading mastery for 2025. If you need this course, just hit me up. And here I have to apologize. Maybe I was speaking a little bit too fast. It's because I was realizing this video is becoming a little bit too long. If you need more clarification, just hit me up. The course is available. The mentorship is available. So you might have your own trading strategies, but you just need mentorship in terms of understanding your risk to reward, your entries, your session timing, your trade management, things like that. You can just jump into the mentorship. You don't have to necessarily pay for the course, but you can just pay for the mentorship and I'll help you guys. So if you watched until the end, thank you so much. For those who requested gold, there is gold for you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good trading.